folks keeping the barbarians from the gate.
I got into the labor movement not because I wanted to negotiate wages. I got into the labor movement because I saw it as a vehicle to do massive social change to improve the lots of people.
Let's take these son of a out and give America back to America where we belong. Thank you very much. Thank you.
As far as I'm concerned, the Tea Party can go straight to hell.
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
Hey, welcome into the show, everybody. It is Wednesday. Looking forward to a hump day with you. We're joined by fellow defending father candidate for Congress in the 11th Congressional District, former Congressman Kerry Bentivolio. Kerry, welcome into the show today.
Hey, Randy, and thank you very much for going up to Ludington yesterday. God bless you. That's the fight we want to make. Hoorah.
Yes. Actually, it was down to Ludington, 123 miles from my driveway.
Oh, that's right. For you, it's down.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's interesting, the perspective. People say going up, people going down. We're all over the place. Hey, Kerry, I wanted to have you on the show today because there's a couple of things that are going on in your race to get back your seat that you formerly held prior to David Trott. And I want to put this into perspective because as I was in Ludington last night, I talked to a few folks down there on a local issue. Okay, this is an atheist carpetbagger who has done this crap in Hawaii. He's done it in other states. Now he's coming to Michigan. He already got the cross taken down in Grand Haven. Now he's going after the Father Marquette Memorial on the shores of Lake Michigan there in Ludington. And here's my point, because in talking to the folks, the local people, like you're doing out there running for Congress for the 11th congressional seat, this is an issue that's local to their community. This is something that is affecting the name of their town, the history. I mean, everything going on local to them. And it got me thinking, there's 5, 6, 7 people running for this seat there to get the Republican nomination in your race. What local issue or issues does the 11th Congressional District have, like with regards to commerce or business or trying to attract industry into that district? How do you see, knowing that district so well, what issues do you see affecting people in the 11th Congressional District?
Well, they're concerned about education, and they're concerned about our roads, of course, as we all are. And now I just went to Monday. I went to an anti-human trafficking initiative. There was a group of people there that are working on stopping human trafficking, which is sex and labor slaves for children that are underage. The cybersecurity issue is a major thing. Kids are being seduced on the internet, and then they become victims of human trafficking, and it seems to be an underlying issue. I'm really proud of these folks because I supported a bill as a member of Congress called the Safe and Secure Federal Websites Act, which basically says, government has to lead by example. We have to have safe and secure websites. If you are forced to go on a government website and put in your birthday and social security number, that information has to be protected like the gold in Fort Knox and under the most security. And right now, if you're hacked and your information is stolen from a government website, nobody's accountable except the department as a whole, but their IT person, all this. We need to make them accountable for their actions, and that's what this bill did. And also, there's a little politics involved, but and how this happened. But we made it so that the federal government has to notify you within 3 business days. And unfortunately, Harry Reid, even though it passed in the House, I had 126 co-sponsors on the bill, which is a record for a freshman congressman.
Yeah.
Harry Reid didn't want to take it up because he knew it would probably shut down Obamacare, the Obamacare website.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, that's politics, but
You actually got some unfinished business if elected to go back to Washington and get done.
That's my job from day one. I'm still saying it today. Look at my record. You want to nitpick, fine. Go ahead and nitpick. But I got a 93% conservative rating, so you want to nitpick me on the 7%. Go right ahead, have fun. But guess what? I've been there and done that. I can hit the ground running. I'm at the cutting edge of what our conservative Republican platform is all about. I'm an abolitionist, which basically means I don't like slavery of any shape or form. Yeah. I'm there to protect our rights, not take them away.
Yeah. And one of the other things I'm looking at, just to give you an example, our congressman up here in the 1st District, Lieutenant General Jack Bergman, former 3-star Lieutenant General of the Marine Corps, he has got the ear of President Trump because from a national security thing and also a commerce thing, he's pushing President Trump to build a 3rd lock up in Sault Ste. Marie, one that's wide enough to take these super freighters, because honestly, I'm not going to put anything out there for the terrorists to know about, but if that lock was ever shut down for whatever reason, Kerry, it would impact our economy, manufacturing, national security. I mean, these are things that you guys, I'm sure you'd be willing to go to Washington and support Jack on that.
Yeah, he's all about that infrastructure up there in the Uper land, right? And right. I got a chance to visit the locks, and the concrete is crumbling. Yes. I was up there. My brothers and I and my son and my nephew went up fishing in northern Canada. We did one of those fly-in fishing trips, and we stopped for a couple hours at the locks. And they need some work. They really do. So I would probably be one of the first guys to jump on that as a co-sponsors. We got to find out where the money's coming from. I have a little issue with my folks. We don't like to spend money and go more into debt, so we'd have to make some cuts. And finding those cuts will be the difficult thing. But I'd jump on that in a minute. And I think President Trump would be wise to support that as well, because he has a lot of supporters here in Michigan. We all learned to love him, even though we may have supported somebody else. He's earned our respect because he's a man of action.
Exactly. And one of the things I think that we're looking at too, now that we got past the tax cut bill, it looks like now they're going to be forced to give him what he wants as far as building the wall, ending this chain migration and these visa lottery. You're all supportive of that agenda as well. I know you are, but here's my question on that point. Why is it that people like David Trott, and I'll call him out on it because I can, it's my show, I can say what I want, but from here, why do we not hear anything from an outgoing congressman representing your district? Why is he not more vocal on a lot of these issues where President Trump needs help?
Well, I will tell you, from my experience, first term, it's pretty difficult to stand up because you don't know who's going to cover your 6 o'clock, meaning who's going to cover your back. Yeah. And also I understand that he really doesn't like the job. He's told a few people that, and I keep hearing that from one person after another. Yeah. So I think what happened is he spent about $5 million to find out he's got a job where you actually have to be a people person. You have to be cordial and polite and respectful. You have to be a man of your word, which we try to be. And if you slip or fall and you make a mistake, be man enough or man up and say, hey, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Right? There's nothing wrong with that as long as we learn from our mistakes.
Sure.
I don't understand because I know for me, I'm hopping mad and I'm not going to take it anymore. My grandkids, I got 4 wonderful, beautiful grandchildren, and they've got a lot of friends that I think are totally awesome. My job is to protect their rights and make sure that they have a safe and secure future in education, our roads, but we got to pay for that. Not them. We shouldn't be passing off this debt to our grandchildren. I'm not going to take that. There's no way I'm going to let that happen. Right. That's so unfair and selfish of us to force our children and grandchildren to pay for the debts this generation has made and the generation before us, of course.
Well, that's one of the things I know that is of major concern is next President Trump is talking about a $1 trillion infrastructure bill that's going to require some Democrats to support. It is going to probably, till this economy gets booming and they start generating more money into the Treasury, we could be looking at a deficit package here. How would you, based on what you just said, how do you see this $1 trillion infrastructure package? Would you support it? Would you ask questions? How do you feel about where President Trump wants to go with regards to infrastructure?
That's a great question, and I'm not going to sidestep it. We have to roll up our sleeves and get down to business. I got 100% rating for cutting government waste. There's an awful lot of waste. We need to trim the fat. We need to look at some of these things. We need to go to a thing called zero budgeting. In other words, Mr. Federal Agency, we understand you get $80 billion a year. Tell us how you're going to spend it, and let's go line by line and figure out why you need this money and if we're getting a return on our investment. Now, there's a lot of federal departments with a lot of people that are basically scrambling looking for a job. They've already got their paycheck. They're in the department, right? But they have nothing to do. And so they're shuffling papers. I know that for a fact. There's important jobs that are being done, of course. We're not going to, say they're all bad. But we need to do some real cost cutting and trim the fat from the federal government. And I like the way President Trump, is heading. He reminds me of a guy who got up on stage one time, and when they asked him how he's going to defeat the enemy, he said, I'm going to grab him by the nose, kick him in the keister. I'm going to go through him like crap through a goose. And that's exactly what I want to hear from my president.
Yeah. Well, what you're talking about basically is forensic accounting, line by line, of these budgets.
Exactly.
And you could trim a lot of fat out of there, that's for sure. Let me ask you at this point on your campaign. You have a website that I want you to put out there for folks. If you're listening,
okay.
You're hearing former Congressman Kerry Bentivolio running for the 11th Congressional District. Number one, what is your website if people want to go there and donate to your campaign?
Oh, thank you. It's kerrybforcongress.com. So it's Kerry, Kerry. That's how it's spelled. kerrybforcongress.com. And just want you to know that everything's going extremely well. People are joining the campaign daily because they realize, I'm the guy. I've got the passion, I've got the heart, and I got a warrior spirit. That's all there is to it. We're receiving an awesome response. People are fed up with the scripted, fake, biased news and career politicians. They're not interested in these games anymore. This is a fight we have to win now. And they realize that Bentivolio, he's been there and done that. Look, I was the only member of Congress who fought in 2 wars, Vietnam and Iraq, in Congress. That's a combat soldier, right? I was a sergeant. Sergeants, we don't care who you are, where you come from. Our job is to get the mission accomplished. We make the officers look good, right? But we get down dirty in the trenches and do the fighting. And if you want a fighter, you want a warrior, I'm the guy. Because I'm fed up with it. I'm not playing these games anymore.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing I think people need to hear is because there is a lot of people, running for this seat. And I'll be real blunt. I look at these candidates, Kerry, I'm sorry, but I've got Red Wing work boots that are older than some of these people running for that race.
Yeah, one of my opponents actually went to school with my daughter. I think they were a year behind. But my daughter went to that school on a scholarship. The other one had to pay to go there.
Right.
So Bentivolios have a long tradition of working hard, fighting hard, and earning what they get. And there's a lot of people out there that think they want some. Well, let me just put it this way: there's some people out there that would just want the seat for the sake of the prestige. It's a lot of work, Randy. One of my constituents asked me what it was like to be a member of Congress, and I said, "Remember finals week in college?" They go, "Yeah." I said, "Well, that's every week." Yeah. And I relished it. I loved it because I enjoy learning. I pass that enjoyment for learning off to my children, and if you met my children, you'd know that. They're just totally awesome. I'm truly blessed.
One of the issues that I'm looking at in that race, and it just came to me talking to Kerry, I got a couple of Facebook comments, a couple of text messages. there are a lot of people running for this seat, being that it's an open race, number one. But number two, you got to look at experience. Somebody's life, what they've done, what they've accomplished, and what have they stood up for. And I'm sorry, but you've got Kerry Bentivolio has a voting record. He actually did the job for 2 years prior to David Trott beating him in the next race. He's sponsored bills. He's gotten bills passed in the House as a freshman congressman. You got to ask yourself, people, in this race, who out of all those people running really have the experience, the track record, life experience to be able to do what Kerry's already done. There are others in the race that have served in Lansing. There are some that have never been elected to office ever before. To those listening who live in the 11th Congressional District, who have currently David Trott as your congressman, what do you want in your next congressman? Have you interacted with David Trott? Are you happy with the way he's represented you in Washington, or have you never heard from the guy? I know Kerry has posted in the past when he was there in Washington, the bills that he was introducing, sponsoring, voting on, he put them on his Facebook page. He got input from the district. I'm sorry, but some of these folks I'm looking at, I don't see the life experience. I don't see the track record. I would love to see a real debate among these candidates where they get really questioned on the issues important to you folks there in the 11th Congressional District. But it's something that these candidates need to be informed about, aware of, and responding to it both at the state level and at the national level. We've got a lot of issues and a lot of things coming up, and we have to make sure that you're fully informed, engaged, educated, and then share that information with your friends, your family, your coworkers. We need strong leadership in Michigan, both at the national level and at the state level. I'm Chuck and Randy.